tracing is something called rotoscoping. Rotoscoping can be used to give an aesthetic. Example being the 2017 movie Loving Vincent. In that movie, the scenes
What
were
the f*** are you talking about? Hey guys, CKG here, and welcome back to another one of this. I don't really know what this is, but I guess I'm doing more personality-based commentary instead of more making fun of a general video. I was going to upload a video like that today, but I was just maybe not. Now, I'm not exactly in the art community, which is why there's 10 collaborators for this video. Those people are actually in the art community and know what they're talking about. I don't. I just do it as a hobby because I enjoy doing it. Also, I'm not an expert in art. My art is pretty simplistic and basic, to be honest. I think it looks fine, but there's probably a bunch of flaws that I don't even know about because I'm not in the community. Now, this video started when I was kind of thinking about the general topic of stealing somebody's art style, because I felt it's kind of impersonating somebody's signature. Your art style is kind of how you always express yourself. If somebody just told you to write something down or draw something, you're probably going to draw it in the art style you're most comfortable with if you know you have a bunch of different art styles. And obviously, there's kind of a spectrum to this where it's a polar opposite, where if your art style is super realistic, the polar opposite of that would be a really, really cartoonish style. Then you have inspired, where certain aspects are taken from your art style, morphed a bit, and then still used. Then you have heavily inspired, where it kind of looks like something you made a few years back. And then you have basically just copying you. But there will always be one thing. It will never exactly look like your art style. Nobody on planet Earth, unless you're a robot or an android, can exactly copy you. Because there are certain flaws, certain traits that you inherently possess that goes into your art. Whether it's how you draw circles, whether it's how clear your lines are, whether it's what brush you use, whether it's what colors you choose to add to your images. These little bits and pieces of your personality will always be in your art, either consciously or subconsciously. And unless that person has literally entered into your subconscious and taken out those elements, or has been stalking you and sees your creative process to a one-to-one basis, they are not going to be able to replicate them. There will always be little things that you notice in that person's art that are not going to translate to somebody else's art. Now, obviously, you should try to find your own style. I found my own style after years of drawing, just because I didn't like one style, so I went to another, and I didn't like that one. Now I'm kind of sticking with this simplistic crayon look, because I just think it looks really good. Plain and simple, you will never be able to fully copy somebody's art style. It's not okay in any sense to copy somebody's art style. If you were literally looking at their art instead of being well, I like this feature and this feature, so I'm going to try to incorporate that into my art. You just say, I like this piece of art. I'm basically just going to take what makes it that piece of art and just inject it into my own art. That's just lazy. Another thing about being lazy is basing. Now, is it exactly bad to use a base? Hey guys, Editing CKG here. Now, I didn't have a proper segue to segue into my collaborators for this video, so I'm just gonna show them here.
Hello, it is me, Joysticks. CKG has asked me to talk about tracing and basing for a minute or so, but I'm probably gonna talk for more than that, and I know it. So, I think that tracing is way more different than basing, because if you pay to use a base, it's more fair than just using a free to use one, because it's kind of stealing art. I don't know, but tracing is just stealing art without permission at all, which is kind of a move, if I'm being honest. There was a long time ago, I was like on an app, and like there's a lot of like people who were tracing art. I don't remember what app it was, but like they had to shut down their account because how much they were getting called out. I feel they deserved that. But if you're basing, as long as you like credit the artist, it should be okay.
Tracing by itself is not necessarily a bad thing. It is how you use the tracing that makes the difference whether it's bad or not. Some productive forms of tracing are tracing for training purposes or for aesthetic purposes. Tracing can be a good way to analyze an artist's work, method, and anatomy if used for practice. Tracing is especially a valuable practice technique in animation, where an animator might want to learn how to keyframe a certain movement. However, these are not to be used as commercial or public works without credits of the source asset. As for basing, I don't necessarily see basing as productive as tracing if you're practicing per se, because you're essentially adding details to an essentially ready mold. It is like heating up a meal in your microwave and adding a bit of salt rather than cooking it all yourself. I don't think you learn as much from basing than, for example, tracing. But I think it can be used for really just having fun creatively, just add your fucking OC's hair or something and, have fun with that. Not yourself out, but, I don't condone tracing and stealing other people's work as well, so, yeah.
On tracing and basing, tracing's not okay unless you're practicing and not showing the work to anybody. I think tracing's just not the good way to go. With basing, if you're having like an art block or something, or you need it for like a reference, that's fine. But I feel that you should still credit like the person who made the base, unless they say like you don't have to credit them. But crediting is important for basing and tracing, but don't just pass off traced work as your own. And if you're basing, mention that you used a reference. That's my thoughts on that as a person who draws like a lot.
So, tracing and bases, am I right? Bases. Honestly, I don't think it's that much of a problem than it's blown it to be in the past few years on DeviantArt and whatever. It's just that people get really uptight when the artist who used the base didn't credit the person who actually drew it. Bases, in my personal experience, are really useful when you're referencing poses or when you have lots of character designs that you need to punch out in a short period of time. And basically, credit your base artist, don't get in trouble, yada yada yada. Okay, tracing, oh boy. Tracing, honestly, I think it's the same exact thing. In the professional industries, more specifically the animation industry, artists trace over other artwork, other photographs, and other like actual videos to speed up production. The actual process is called rotoscoping. It was used a lot in like the 50s and whatever, but it's still in use today. But things get kind of weird when you're not an industry artist and you trace over someone else's art and you don't credit them. But tracing over professionally produced artwork made by people who draw for a living can be really useful because they already know their anatomy and everything. You don't have to suffer through that. You just need to know how to deconstruct what they drew and see how you can apply that to your own art. That's like super easy. The problem with tracing, like the actual problem, is that there are dummies, idiots out there who either one, post the art that they very obviously traced who is not a professional, they like traced it horribly or whatever, or two, post the art that they did based on constructions that they did of someone else's stuff and then forget to credit the original artist. That's like the main problem with tracing. Anything else I'm okay with, but other people won't be. I'm open mind, democracy, changing opinions, whatever, free thinking, But overall, bases and tracing, certain things, not everything, certain things, can really help you improve as an artist, but you have to credit every single person, every single artist that you referenced or traced off of. That's it.
Tracing is a whole nother story, because where basing is, it's basically 60 to 50% your own doing. Tracing is basically just taking somebody else's work and just using literally everything. You are basically just taking their art and just using the fill tool and just filling in different colors. Like, that's all you're doing. If you trace, stop. Literally stop. I'd rather you base every single piece of art you make than trace one piece of art. I can pride myself that I have never traced an image, and must have traced something I was like 5 or 4 because it didn't grasp stealing or whatever. But like in recent memory, I have never traced anything, or even based for that matter. I can't remember a time where I looked up like bases or anything like that to draw my art, which is probably why a lot of my old art looks completely garbage, because I was still learning. They're basically like training wheels or like crutches. Like, you gotta just lose them at some point, and it's kind of just like a natural progression where you're going to lose them eventually. Maybe I shouldn't say like crutches. Maybe I should say more like baby teeth. Another weird thing that's in the art community is people critiquing other people's art. It's kind of... the term critique is kind of like the term satire in modern YouTube, where it basically doesn't even relate to what it's supposed to mean. A lot of, YouTubers that give criticism will basically just be like, your art sucks, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, but maybe you can improve on this. Like, instead of being like an insult, a compliment, an insult, it's more just insult, 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 compliment at the end of the video, outro. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, like, sure, you're giving your critique, but that's like 10% of the video max. Same way, like, satire is basically the same thing as this, but just for the commentary community, where somebody will just tear into a person, absolutely demolish them, and then be like, hey guys, this is all just a joke, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what you're doing, don't try to excuse yourself. Now, an actual YouTuber that does criticize people is Daft Pina. I'm not sure if I'll get canceled for liking Daft Pina. That's just narcissism. But Daft Pina keeps really calm, really collective. He probably writes pages upon pages of scripts and just kind of reads them out and gives his opinion. I can't remember a Daft Pina video where he like actually throws like a legitimate like insult or like punch at another YouTuber, because most of the time he's just saying it how it is and giving his opinion. He's basically like sparkling water instead of being like motor oil. Like, these fake criticism YouTubers are just straight toxic and you shouldn't drink them. Daft Pina's like sparkling water, where it's like, it has some flavor, it tastes pretty good, I like it, but it could use a bit more work. Which is an example of criticism. Now, where I draw the line from just being mean to just straight bullying people is when people take like 7 to like 8-year-olds artwork and just start tearing into it. My art when I was 7 literally looked just straight garbage. I mean, my art is still relatively garbage now, but you get the point. Like, just tearing directly into kids on YouTube is basically frowned upon, but like, everybody just kind of accepts it. I don't know how. But it's just like, it's an easy target, it's easy to do, easy to upload, people laugh at it. It is a crutch, you know what I'm saying? Instead of actually criticizing somebody that's on your level, you decide to criticize people under you. Which I tried to avoid that when making his horribles or videos like these where I'm, giving my criticism, giving my opinions. I don't try to belittle people. I try to either bully people on my own level or higher than me. And with my Is Horribles, I'm kind of trying to pull that back to like my level. But I do have an Is Horrible in the works that does relate to somebody higher than me, but morally, probably lower than me. If you like this video, give this video a like, and want to see more content, so this and subscribe. I hope I don't get angry art community stands in the comments tearing me a new one, but I'll see you guys in the next one.